It's finally time to meet the beldam in today's Coraline scene dissection. Welcome back, family members. This is still McGann, still being the one and only the fangirl, as in one fangirl to rule them all and in the darkness bind them. And today is another scenic Saturday for Coraline, where we are in what I'm roughly estimating to be scene 7, where Coraline has just gone through the portal behind the small door, and she's about to meet the other mother for the first time. And we're gonna meet the other father too, because the beldam's entrance is such a short scene. And side note, of all the kismetly weird things for me to do, I bumped into something and knocked over a Hunchback of Notre Dame snow globe and it shattered. That thing has survived since 1996 and I feel terrible. Plus my floor now comes with soaked in glitter. That's gonna be there forever. So if your parents were lost in the other world, I think I just released them for you. You're welcome. Anyways, Coraline gets to the end of the cool colored tunnel and she's pretty flabbergasted to be crawling out and finding her own living room again. And the details in this apartment are pretty strikingly similar to Coraline's actual house. It looks like the same shovels, the same box on the chair, the same furniture, the same fireplace screen, the same snow globes and snow globe box. Even the compass rug is still there. However, all the furniture looks slightly moved, just a little more curated. And strangely, of all the things to be out of place, the heat radiator majigga thing under the window is noticeably smaller in the other world. Let's remember to check back on that detail later because Coraline is in that room after she locks the tiny door for the final time. Actually, you know what? I've been saying since 2016 that Coraline never escaped from the other world, and I am tired of seeing people on TikTok stealing my theories and acting like they just thought of them. So I jumped ahead in the movie and yes! When Coraline gets home, the snow globe is broken and her parents get returned. However, the smaller radiator is still the one in the house. And look, it's a very prominent difference. The one we see before Coraline goes through the door for the first time has 3 extra rings and is a lot wider than the window it's under. But the heater in the other world fits perfectly under the window, and that smaller one is what we see when Coraline supposedly gets home. So yes, 100% verified at this point, Coraline never gets home. The tunnel ends up looking different because they're all different tunnels going to different places. As I've said for years, all these tunnels are going to different spots that just look the same. And Coraline is trapped in this cloned world that I call the Limbo Pink Palace because as long as she's trapped in the limbo reality, Coraline can't get to the tunnel she actually needs to go through to escape because the tunnel that goes to the real world is in the beldam's lair. So all of those tunnels are like different pieces of a spider web going to different parts of the other world. And once Coraline went through the little door, I don't think she ever got to come back out. Not really. Because the beldam can make the other world look like anything. And the beldam has proven that she can make human-looking eyes. So basically, Coraline is in a refrigerator while the beldam eats her love. And if you're confused here, I have 40 plus previous theory videos for you to watch. Yay! Okay, sorry. I got excited and completely derailed us there. Let's go back into this scene. Of course, the other major notable difference between this living room and Coraline's real one is that the painting of the boy with the fallen ice cream has changed. Now the boy has 3 scoops intact, and he looks ecstatic to be having the treat. And that is the only difference that Coraline notices, which isn't unfair because Coraline just moved to that house less than 2 days ago now. I wouldn't blame her if she can't notice that the radiator isn't quite right. And even though there's light singing in the background, which should jar Coraline, and if you have a good ear, you'll notice that it's the same melody from the intro of the film when someone is making the doll. But Coraline Coraline smells something food related, and that pulls her towards the kitchen, and we start this moment with Coraline walking away on screen. But then we get this animation nerd fan service kind of shot from a first-person perspective, where Coraline walks through the hallway and the dining room to get to the kitchen. And now suddenly it's Coraline who's the one that's giving us a voyeurism-style perspective. She is the one watching from the shadows. And it's almost as if human Coraline has now traded places with the doll, which again, in the past I've talked with people about the beldam possibly being a fairy and how fairies will often steal babies and leave something like a doll behind. I believe that video was a conversation I had with All Monsters Go to Space, and with this one shot, that theory suddenly feels a lot more plausible because of this single moment. But Coraline pushes the kitchen door completely open, taking no heed to the fact that she just came through a tunnel and this place is slightly off at least. Come on, girl, you have to at least want to survive. Now, where the living room is just a little different, the kitchen is massively changed. The table and chairs look like quality furniture, whereas the Jones family had metal folding chairs and a cheap-looking round table. The stove vent has a nicer cover. There are fresh spices hung up above the window. There's hanging pots and pans and a kitchen island. Also, the cabinets are smaller, but with much larger shelves. And despite being in the middle of the night with a crescent moon in the window, the otherworld kitchen is lit so warmly, and so it feels very inviting, whereas the real world kitchen felt cold and dingy. And still, despite the kitchen looking completely different in a way that would have taken multiple shopping trips and a small construction crew, Coraline thoughtlessly pushes her way into the kitchen and calls out, believing that she's seeing her mother from behind. And Coraline even says, "What are you doing here in the middle of the night?" So she's aware that she's not in her home, but she's also going around like she owns the place and knows nothing of fear. So when the other mother turns around and we linger on her shiny button eyes, Coraline is taken aback for half a second before frowning her eyebrows and getting mad, just like we watched her do with the cat and Wybie earlier. Coraline has this deep-rooted "how dare you trick me" issue going on that we keep seeing resurface. And Coraline tries to march forward and challenge the beldam by saying, "You're not my mother," but she loses steam and the fear kicks in when Coraline tries to talk about the button eyes. The unnaturalness of the whole place is setting in. And the beldam must know what freaks this kid out because the other mother has such an upbeat and playful attitude about the buttons, asking Coraline if she likes them without ever offering an explanation for why they're in her skull. So before Coraline has a chance to process any of this, the beldam says she's Coraline's other mother and then assigns Coraline the task of alerting the other father that supper is ready, which appears to be a turkey. Now, trying to distract Coraline with busy work like this is the exact same thing that Mel and Charlie were doing just minutes before on screen. And that keeps Coraline from standing still and thinking things over and asking a lot of questions, because her brain is being reset with a task. Coraline has this woman who looks safe and familiar to her, talking in this perky, sweet way with good lighting and good smells all around, and then she's ushered off to get the other father. I always love that moment in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo where the villain has the protagonist and they say, "You sensed the danger, but you came in anyways because you were worried about being impolite." It's kind of the same situation here. When someone is overly kind towards you, your natural instinct is to be compliant so that you do not upset them. But other than the weird look of the other mother, there is really no danger to be detected yet. We teach kids not to judge a book by its cover, so who's to say that this woman can't be nice and just happen to have creepy button eyes? So yes, all you children listening now, you do judge a book by its cover. If it looks scary, it's scary, darn it. Now, Coraline does look a little bit lost when she's told to get her other father, and she squints a lot at the beldam, but Coraline chooses to go along with this and walks into her father's office. And this is a completely different space in the other world. There's no boring computer or paperwork boxes. Instead, we have a grand piano with boxes of records, a record player, interesting paintings on the wall, a cello, fancy-looking hardcover books, a big chair that would be inviting to have Coraline come and sit in this room. Whereas her real-world dad had no time or space for his daughter. And when the other father turns around, Coraline is a little shocked to see more button eyes. But she's just rolling with all of this now. She is still skeptical though, and she tells the other father that her father can't play the piano, which presto, out pop these spring-loaded gloves so that the piano can play the other father. Problem solved. That's how you do it. Also, the fact that the other father's song isn't considered one of the beldam's wonders, that's just a travesty. And I love the other father's look. He's got his Hugh Hefner smoking jacket and orange monkey slippers. He's just the best. He wins Fashion Week. But even though Coraline is acting more distant and cautious of this button-eyed daddy, he starts playing his Coraline song and she's completely warmed up to him by the time it's over. Also, another detail to note is that the other mother has a smaller, more straight nose than Mel, and the other father doesn't have such a curve to his chin and face. Their features are more in line with traditional standards of beauty, which tends to make people feel more at ease. And I've analyzed the other father's song before, so I don't want to micro-dissect it here, but the fact that he explicitly references Coraline as a doll always gives me pause. Did Coraline swap places with the doll? Is she trapped inside of it now and that's what the other world is? And I know that doll is also old-timey slang for a cute girl, but out of all the words in the English language, they could have avoided the one that raised more questions here. Also, as the piano spinning, we see some old 80s stereo and recording equipment. And then some weird abstract paintings and frames. I cannot make them out, but I wonder if these were paintings that Coraline did as a younger kid, maybe in different art classes over the years. Everything in this movie is so intentional, but these images just don't make sense to me. Then on the next wall is a painting of a matador and what appears to be a huge bookshelf with liquor bottles. Is that why the other father is so happy? He's a happy drunk. There's also a golden Native American head just hanging out by the books, and then a lot more abstract art all over the other walls. This is a very curious room. And because the other father disarms Coraline by singing about her and, lavishing her with the attention she's been craving, plus it doesn't hurt that he's being silly and joking around too, because that allows Coraline to let her guard down, and she decides that these people aren't dangerous. However, because this initial impression is so good, Coraline is going to keep seeing red flags and dismissing them as no big deal. She keeps coming back to get the positives out of the other world while ignoring the uneasiness that she feels. And that's actually very consistent with dealing with narcissists or other toxic personality types. You get these people who are raised by narcissistic parents and they always have an internal conflict on who to trust or how to react because they have so much cognitive dissonance from their own upbringing. And if you are unfamiliar, cognitive dissonance in a nutshell means that you have two conflicting things happening, so your brain just decides to cling to one and ignore the other, which can manifest as things like, my parents severely neglect me, but they tell me they love me, so they must love me, and the neglect I feel is normal. So Coraline not looking at the other parents and going, F you guys, I'm out of here right from the start, is a possible indicator that she lives in a household that's probably psychologically abusive, and Coraline doesn't know how to properly stand up for what she wants versus doing what she has to do to survive. We're gonna call it here for today because the next scene has a ton to talk about, but please chime in with your thoughts in the comments, especially in regards to how Coraline reacts to the other world. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. And to any of my members here on YouTube, a huge bottom of my heart thank you for all of your help and support. If you would like to become a paid channel member, there is a link in the description below. Thanks again, guys. Love you. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey Megan, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.